there is no point in offering jobs to foreign students. I treat foreign students, or rather we should treat foreign students as our guests. We treat foreign students as edu-tourists, and believe me, edu-tourist is something which is a very innovative concept. We are talking about Incredible India. We are trying to attract tourists from all over the world.
That's true.
Why not look upon education as also a field for edu-tourism? Let us invite foreign students. They will stay here. Do you know how many? Pune is the place which attracts highest number of students. There are as many as 20,000 foreign students from as many as 80 different countries. Suppose every student spends about 15,000 per month. 15,000 into 20,000 per month, how much it is? Multiplied by 12, how much it is?
Yes.
So, and you know, even Australia decided that our education is an exportable commodity. They changed the laws. And so they are attracting foreign students to join the universities and colleges. But main intention behind it is to earn foreign exchange. There is nothing wrong in it. So we should also treat foreign students as guests, but guests should remain as guests. After courses, they should go back to their countries, and instead of serving in India, they should serve their country.
Recently, the HRD ministry has taken a number of new initiatives, has given more autonomy to institutions like the IITs, the IIMs. What do you feel about the new initiatives which have been taken up by the ministry?
Recently, HRD minister has mentioned that he wants to liberate education. And he hit the nail, because I do feel that India achieved political independence in 1947. We achieved financial freedom in 1991 when the economy was liberalized. But today, if you see education and educational institutions, there are controls, there are hassles. If you really want to start an unaided school, you require permission from so many. So there are so many councils, there are so many commissions, there are so many agencies, there are so many officers whose permission is required. So unfortunately, we got political freedom, we got financial freedom, but our education system is still under license permit right. So when the most important decision that our HRD ministry has taken is to create a central agency, a one-window policy, so that whether you are starting engineering college or management, let there be only one agency. I am glad that this has happened.
Yeah. But
to put it in another way, I will say that in 1947, Bharat Mata ko स्वातंत्र मिला, लक्ष्मी को स्वातंत्र 1991 में मिला,
मगर सरस्वती
कब स्वतंत्र होगी? And I am glad that recent initiatives are directed to liberate Saraswati, to liberate education from license and permit right.
But what about the quality of education, especially with so many institutes, mushrooming in management and even others like medical colleges and others?
Instead of controlling authority, there should be regulatory authority. Personally, I feel that what happened in economy in 1991 should happen in education, or at least it should have happened side by side with economy in 1991. But let it be. At least now it should happen, which means education liberalization, then privatization and globalization. I am glad that higher education minister Kapil Sibal is thinking of bringing good foreign institutions. I tell you one thing, that quality originates only when there is competition. Today, where is the competition? Let Oxford University come, let Stanford, let Harvard, let Cambridge. If these universities come and they start competing with our universities, I am sure that competition will generate quality. If there is no competition, as used to happen in corporate world, there is no possibility that there will be inequality. So competition results in quality, and competition results also in increase in number. And more, if there are more universities imparting quality education, if there are more colleges imparting quality education, then automatically the cost of quality education also comes down.
So let me play the devil's advocate. There are critics who say that, there should not be commercialization of education. Education at the end of the day should not become a mere business. Would you agree with them?
Yes and no.
Okay.
For example, do you think water should be commercialized? No.
Obviously.
Because water is an essential commodity.
That's true.
But what do you see? Today we purchase water which is costlier than milk.
True.
But still we drink costly water. Similarly, if you want a good education, it is bound to be costly. So let us decide once for all that education should no longer be a pious cow. Number one. Yes, up to secondary education, it should be a charity. But in professional colleges, in higher education, if you say that higher education and professional education should also be affordable, what do you really mean by affordability? If I charge 50,000 rupees for medical course, is it affordable? No. There will be large number of people who may not be able to pay even 50,000.
That's true.
So my point is, yes, we need good quality education, but my submission is, let us not talk about affordability and other things.
Well, time for a quick break now, but when we come back from the break, we'll discuss some more interesting issues.
They should start.
Welcome back. You are watching Aaj Savere, and we have with us renowned educationist of the country, Dr. S.P. Majumdar. Sir, we were talking about commercialization of education and investment. The latest buzzword is PPP, the public-private partnership. Do you think that even this field of education, and more specifically higher education, should be opened up?
I think PPP is an excellent concept, excellent concept. And I will give you only two examples. Symbiosis has actually implemented this PPP principle. You know that because of frequent transfers, the education of Army, Navy and Air Force officers suffer.
That's true.
Because education suffers, these boys and girls are not in a position to effectively compete in competitive examinations.
That's true.
And therefore we thought of establishing a separate institution for the dependents of defense personnel in Pune.
Okay.
So there we admit 90% students who are the dependents of defense personnel from Army, Navy and Air Force. So Ministry of Defense Ministry has granted 5 acres of land. Symbiosis constructed buildings. Then we admit 90% students of defense with a defense background, and 10% students are industry sponsored students. We have an advisory body on which there are 5 army people from Southern Command in Pune, and rest are the members nominated by Symbiosis Society. So Government of India, Defense Ministry and Symbiosis have come together and carried out a successful experiment of public-private partnership. Similarly, we have started a school in Pune, Pune Police Public School. The land belongs to Police Department. Police Department has constructed the building. Police Department has given us infrastructure. Symbiosis manages that school. 50% children of constables, and mind you, constables, whose children normally go astray, because you know constables have 18 hours duty, 20 hours duty. So we thought of it, and we admit 50% children of constables at a very cheap fee.
Okay.
Hardly they pay 800 rupees per year. Whereas we admit children of Pune citizens who pay about 10 to 12,000 rupees fees. So these students, Pune citizen students, they subsidize the
armed
education of constables, children of constables.
Okay.
So this is again at school level, this is also an experiment of PPP.
Yeah. But
And
sir, I'm
I'm
sure
glad to tell you
Yeah.
that this experiment has been replicated by Police Commissionerate in Nagpur and Thane.
Okay. But sir, I'm sure you'll agree with me that there are problems of quality. We have seen all these private universities mushrooming in the country. Also all these deemed universities where one finds that there are no facilities at all. And basically, especially the private universities, they are looking at just the money which is coming in through the students.
This is, first of all, let me tell you that Symbiosis is a deemed university. We got deemed university status way back in 2002. Let us not generalize the issue. Do you know that there are 130 deemed universities? Out of that, 30 are deemed universities which are owned, run and managed by government, central government. And then there are some good universities like Institute of Science in Bangalore. It's a deemed university. Do you say it is a bad deemed university? There is Gokhale Institute of Economics in Pune, established by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and a very well-known university. It is a good university. In Pune there is a Deccan College, very old college, famous for archaeology and other such courses.
But I'm
It's
talking
a
about the
deemed
private
university.
universities
My
where
point
there are no
is,
facilities.
whether it is state university or central university or deemed universities, you are bound to come across some universities which are good, some universities which are mediocre,
Exactly.
some universities which are not up to the mark.
Yeah.
So let us not generalize the statement. As in state universities or central universities, in deemed universities also. And who has granted those deemed universities? They have not suo moto started those deemed universities. For example, when deemed university status was given to Symbiosis, University Grant Commission sent a committee, AICTE sent a committee, they scrutinized our proposal. And my point is, if some deemed universities are going astray, if some universities are misusing the autonomy, if some deemed universities, private universities are charging high fees and exploiting students, why UGC only barks? Why AICTE barks? They have enough teeth. Let them, instead of barking, they should bite. Why they have not de-recognized even a single deemed university?
That's true.
So my point is, let us not make a general statement.
That's true.
And unfortunately, it has become a fashion that deemed universities mean private universities. But let me tell you, Sam Pitroda, who is the chairman of Knowledge Commission, told that India at least needs 1500 more universities.
But at the same time, the quality has to be checked.
Quality has to be changed. Quality, and as I told you earlier, the quality will change provided there is a competition.
Okay.
If there is no competition, take it from me that there will not be quality. Competition leads to quality, quality leads to lowering of cost.
From here on, in the next 15 to 20 years, where do you see Indian education?
Personally, I feel that Indian talent is one of the best talents in the world. Today, there are many bright Indian students, talented people who are in foreign countries. At one time, we used to talk of brain drain. But now, because of economic reform, things have totally changed. And now there is many of our young talented students and youth, they are coming back to
India.
our country. So now instead of brain drain, there is what I call brain gain.
Okay.
What is happening in corporate world is also going to happen in education world in one or the other day. For example, if you take Ivy League universities in America, in those universities there are so many Indian professors teaching. Why not attract those Indian professors? Why not attract Indian talent to India and give them the same facilities, give them the same salaries, give them the same hassle-free environment? And I am sure within next 10 to 20 years, and 2020 is the dream of all Indians to see India as a developed nation. I am sure even before 2020,